All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome everybody. My name is Nella, and thank you for joining us for this webinar where we're going to discuss workview concept solutions and design layouts. You've probably heard of these terms before, concept solutions and design layouts, but what are they? What do they do? How do we use them? And why would you want to? These are questions that we're going to answer today, so I will just go ahead and get started. Few housekeeping things first. As always, I want to showcase our amazing customer success team. This is such a great group who strives to provide the best support using their knowledge and working with each other to learn more every day. They're great. And for those of you who have never attended one of our webinars, I just have a few more housekeeping items. If you have been here before, this is just your reminder that the audience is muted, although be sure to use the chat box that's available to type comments and questions. Please complete the survey that's at the end of the webinar. I really love reading the feedback and ideas to consider those for future webinars. And if you're curious about webinars that we've done in the past, you can check them out at navient.com/resources/video. So in this webinar, we're going to switch it up a bit. Usually we do a demo near the end of the webinar, but today we're going to start off with the demo. We're going to go on the journey from start to finish of where to find and download your resources, and then what to do with them once you have them. Then we'll take a close look at the benefits and considerations to take when looking into utilizing these readily available tools. So real quick, I want to launch a poll, and I want to know who knows what a concept solution does. That is a tongue twister. Concept solution. All right, I got half votes in. Give it another 20 seconds. Who knows what a concept solution does? All right. Thank you for that. We've got more no's than yeses, which is what I expected, because why would you come to a webinar if you knew what it was about, right? So just real quick, for those of you that don't know, the concept solution naming convention can be a little bit tricky on Community when you're looking these up. If you've ever heard them called concept design layout or a design layout, these are all referring to the same thing. So they're a pre-made configuration for a business use case. So if you're curious and want more details at the ready, you can visit community.hyland.com, search for concept solutions, and then the wiki page will be that first result that is shown here. So you can read more about the concept solutions and view the different types of use cases that are available here, but you can also access more concept solutions on tryhyland.com, which is where I'm going to start our demo off. I did pre-record this demo just because I've been having some Wi-Fi issues recently, and I really wanted this to go smoothly. So I'm just going to talk us through what it takes from start to finish using a concept solution. So first off, we're going to go to tryhyland.com, like I said. And I'm already logged in, so no problem there, but you're going to want to make sure you log in and click the Hyland Exchange tab at the top there. You can go down and filter through industries, product lines, and the download available is already selected for the content type. And then you can kind of go through and read through each one of these and see if there's anything that catches your eye you want to try out. We've covered the base ACE configuration in the past in one of our other webinars. There's some really fun employee applications that you can use in HR. But for this example, we're going to go look at the contract tracker. So you'll see a solution overview of what it does, some key features and benefits. You'll even have a couple videos walking through. In this case, there's a user and admin video to walk through. We've got supporting documents, and you're going to want to download this import guide here by selecting the link. And you're going to also want to make sure that you have the minimum version for export. Most cases, it's on base 18. And then you're going to want to download the solution. You'll want to agree. And it's going to put it in your downloads file folder. And I like to move it to the desktop just to kind of make it easily accessible. And then I'm going to go ahead and open up this installation guide that we will be needing to use. We'll enable editing just to kind of clear up these screens. And then you're going to want to extract all of the items in that zip folder there. And put it right on the desktop. And if I open it up, we will see the style sheet, the data, and the actual export. So I'll X out of there and bring up Studio and find my import button in my home tab and browse out to that export package that I just referenced and open it up and select all items and auto resolution and automatically resolve all items. And then you'll want to run a verification, make sure everything looks good. And you'll notice at the bottom there is some information about the versions not matching up correctly, which is okay because this is for versions 18 and newer. So I'll go ahead and start the import. And we got a successful import. Go ahead and finish. And it's gonna go ahead and add it into my repository. Once it's there, we can kind of peek around, make sure we've got the classes and some filter bars in there like we expected. But at this point, you're going to want to go ahead and open up the Word document that we downloaded with the import guide. And we'll create like a little split screen here, have the import guide on one side and Studio on the other, just to kind of follow the directions side by side. And if I start scrolling through here, you'll first see a little bit of details regarding preparing your environment before you want to import this into your system. And then we will start seeing some of the steps that we've already completed. So grabbing that export file and putting it into Studio, making sure that you run the verification and everything is successful. And that'll bring us to step 4, which is where we are at right now. So this is the step where we want to update the internal user, external class in this case. So we're going to want to open up the contract tracker application and find our internal user class and navigate over to the connection tab on the properties pane. And we just want to verify that the database and the table name are accurate, but these are, so I don't have to modify anything here. So then moving on to the next step, which would be the running the WorkView Doctor to update some views, going to maintenance, selecting WorkView Doctor, switching the tab to View Updater and analyzing the application, and then update the updates that were shown after analyzing. That'll take just a second. Now, once that's done, we can go ahead and exit out. And then the next step is to add some style sheets to the views. So you want to click on any view and you want to do a double click so that the tab up at the top for the template designer will appear once it's open. You can select the global style sheet resource and that'll open up in our main window in the middle there. Then you want to go navigate to the file that we had on our desktop, the unzipped one. Open her up and open up the CSS and copy what's in there. And usually I like to just add it all the way at the bottom of my style sheet resource. And then we will go ahead and save. We can see the nice headings and colors there. Here are those instructions labeled on the import guide. And then finally, we will want to go to the Workview tab and import some data so that we can play around in the application. So browse out to the XML file that we put on the desktop. And here you will identify the application that you want to import the data into. And you will just auto map each class and their attributes. And I didn't count how many classes there are, but as you can see, there's quite a few, so you'll just have to go ahead and auto map each one. And then it'll ask if you want to save them. I said no. And you do want to test the import just to make sure it all looks good and went through successfully, which it did. And then we can X out and finish it up. And then you're going to want to reset your cache server and do an IIS reset. And then you're going to want to probably test it in Unity and play around with the app. So once you launch Unity, you can go ahead and go to File, Applications, find the application, and then enable it to always be on. So then it shows up at the top in the little tab sections there. So starting off with my filters, we have a troubleshooting filter that we can add data to. So if I look at my contract types, we have a procurement type, which I can go ahead and create another one, make sure that, you know, these views look right and they function and they're saving correctly. So I'll just type in a random example here and then go ahead and test adding a subcontract to it. So it opens up another view and I can add in a subcontract type. And then you can also add an administrator. So if I go ahead and select that add button, it'll appear with a list of users that I can select from. I'll just add the contract manager, seems appropriate. So I'll save and close this one, and then I'll save and close again for the actual contract. And then we can see that it in fact does list it right there in the filter. So next filter we have is the users filter. If I was a user and wanted to look at all the contracts, right now we just have one. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and test out my create button. And when I use my drop down here, you can see the employment contract that I added as a pretend example. But I'm gonna go ahead and use the procurement, the one that was in there. That's such a hard word to say, procurement. Add some details to it, make sure that we can use all of these fields here. Just for sake of time, we'll make it quick. Over in the workspace, we have some tasks that we could add to this contract request, which is pretty neat. So I'll go ahead and create an object for the tasks. And same thing here, we can use our little magnifying glass to choose a user that we have already in our system. I'll choose Victor, put a priority on the task, due date. The task status looks like it's automatically open when you're creating a new one, which is nice. And you can add the details. And then you can go ahead and save and close. And it pops up right there in that task section. And then you could also add documents or notes that are supporting this contract. Um, and we'll go ahead and just save and close here. And let's say I was Victor and I wanted to go see my tasks. Let's see if the tasks filter has a task for Victor. It does. So we can go ahead and open it up, pretending we're Victor, mark it as done, see if that task status will update, which it did. Awesome. So we can save and close. And then the last thing I want to test out, oh, and also the completed on date appears and the task status changes there. But the last thing I want to touch on is the admin panel. And if I go ahead and open up this object, I can look at information for this company, but I can also switch over to this datasets tab and add in data to have my users play around with when releasing this to them, if they want to use it as is or if they want to test it out, which kind of brings me to my last point. um, Another change that could be made is, Victor. He probably isn't going to have access to that troubleshooting filter bar. He might only have access to the user's filter bar. So, taking out the filters that are going to be needed for the users to access on a daily basis and making the changes that is necessary for you is just one thing that you can do to modify this as needed. So that kind of brings me to my next point for benefits and considerations. So now we've seen what's needed to get the concept solution up and running, but let's talk about some benefits and considerations to take while doing it yourself. So with concept solutions, there are various ways that you can utilize them. So if you have a use case that you want to create a workview application for, a concept solution can get you 85% of the way there. You can modify them as needed to fit your needs, as we talked about, and you can release the solution to users to then test out. After a period of time, you can connect with the users to discuss the functionality, ideas for additions, or even identify items that are just in the way and should be removed. So give your users something that they can touch and feel when deciding if a workview application will solve their needs. It'll be a great starting place, or it can be used right out of the box, as you saw. So when creating your own application from scratch, you can use this concept solution as reference, download the concept solution into Studio, and then use it to compare those configuration settings. So now some considerations to take when exploring concept solutions. First, visit Hyland Community and follow the Application Builder Community group. You can select the Knowledge Base tab to gain insight to additional information to help you along, like tips and tricks for things like using external classes, adding backgrounds, using interactive filters, or creating dynamic icons. You can also access information for application design guides and ideas that you can vote on for concept solution ideas. After choosing a concept solution to import into your test environment, use the import guide to successfully import the solution. Concept solutions on Tri-Hyland are all available to download for OnBase versions 18 Service Pack 1 and newer. I believe there are about 2 or 3 that are available for versions no earlier than EP1, but most of the common use cases that you'll be looking for will be compatible with version 18 or newer. And again, as always, do this in your test environment first, and when following the steps to import or making any changes, save early and save often. So to sum it up, concept solutions are easy to implement right out of the box into your test environment. This can help you get started on your WorkView application by allowing users to provide feedback on its functionality and then make changes as necessary. Or these can be used as reference to help create your own WorkView application from scratch. There's so many resources on Hyland Community to help you get started, but as always, Navient support is here to help.